Municipal solid waste is an umbrella term for all forms of household waste that urban or rural communities produce. Some countries do a far better job of managing municipal solid waste than others. But what factors contribute to effective management of waste, and why is it important? Many countries, particularly in Asia, are urbanizing at increasingly fast rates, meaning larger amounts of municipal solid waste are being produced. Bangladesh presents a good example of this trend. In 1950, 4% of its population lived in cities. By 2015, that had risen to roughly 55 million, a third of its population. Another example of this is in China, whose urban population doubled between 1998 and 2017, surpassing the rural population in 2012. There are a lot of different ways that countries handle their municipal solid waste, but the four primary methods are landfilling, incineration, recycling, and reuse. These strategies often rank in popularity by least efficient being used most frequently and most efficient being utilized least. A method's efficiency refers to the level of energy that any discarded product is able to return. If recycled, an aluminum can save 95% of the energy required to produce a new one from raw materials. And energy saved from recycling one glass bottle is enough to light a light bulb for 4 hours. The trend of this underutilization can be seen across the world, but let's look at a breakdown of Shanghai's waste management. In 2007, researchers Zhu Minghua and Fan Xiumin conducted census surveys of Shanghai's waste. The graph represents the proportion of each type of waste. Note the high proportion of organic material. This second graph shows the methods by which the waste was disposed. 75% going directly to a landfill or an open dump. These dumps return next to no energy, only being able to generate energy as the waste breaks down and off-gassing occurs. Particularly in Asian countries, the largest proportion of municipal solid waste is often made up of organic material. Because of its high water content, it's heavy. This makes it expensive to transport and inefficient to burn. Separating out organic waste at its source is incredibly important for several reasons, and this is the method many urban planners highlight. It can reduce surface and groundwater contamination, methane emissions, and can increase the value of recycled materials, particularly papers and plastics. Unlike other forms of municipal solid waste, it does not require substantial re-engineering to be utilized. But why should cities change their habits? And what could incentivize changes in attitude? Often the most difficult challenge with establishing a program of source separation is creating and maintaining each separate stream of waste, dividing plastics from paper from organics, and keeping their purity at a high enough level that secondary markets, namely China, want to buy them. Good policies must be able to incentivize crowds to change their habits and make it convenient for source separation to take place. But different regions will require different incentives. One method of analysis is grouping stakeholders into categories based on power and interest. By creating these categories, we can analyze the pre-existing and potential relationships between a particular organization, how they influence others, and what relationships or communication exists or requires nurturing. The value of organic waste has already been highlighted, but this potential value can quickly become a burden when organic material is not well managed. In 2007, with funding from Japan, Vietnam undertook a pilot project to educate its public on source separation and divert organic waste away from landfills. Vietnam's largest waste management company, the Hanoi Urban Environment Company, oversaw the project. 18,000 households took part, and although waste generation was reduced by 31 to 45%, the project was eventually discontinued. The company operated at huge losses because of the constant equipment failure and low quality of organic waste. The company's compost was difficult to sell owing to a lack of incentives for local farmers to use the compost or for residents to separate it. Many countries can't consider the prospect of these sorts of municipal solid waste programs as their implementation is far too expensive. As a result, the short-term, less economical option of landfilling is preferred. There's a theory called the Kuznets curve that breaks countries into industry level. Pre-industrial economies such as Papua New Guinea quickly reach high levels of environmental degradation as large factories and infrastructure enter the region. Newly industrialized economies such as China, Bangladesh, or India often operate with low regulatory enforcement, contributing to environmental contamination. However, higher incomes lead to focus on increased living standards, which manifests as cleanliness and efficient infrastructure, eventually reducing per capita waste production. Concentrated wealth also leads to technological improvements that reduce emissions, such as fuel efficiency in commuter vehicles and cleaner forms of energy use, such as wind and solar energy over coal. Taiwan, as well as Japan, are excellent examples of how policy can curb municipal solid waste generation. Taiwan is a small, mountainous island and very densely populated. It has the same population as Australia in an area 200 times smaller. As a result, landfilling is not a viable option. Its available land has to be used for agriculture, housing, and infrastructure. In 2007, Taiwan introduced the Resource Recycling Act. Composting and recycling facilities have been subsidized by the government, and by 2012, the generated municipal solid waste per capita per day had fallen from 1.143 kilograms to 0.397 kilograms. The resource recycling rate in Taiwan also increased from 5.88% in 1998 to 53.94% in 2012. Residents in Taiwan are required to separate their waste or face fines ranging from 1,200 to 6,000 new Taiwanese dollars. In Taipei City, residents come out to the street to dispose of their waste. They're charged based on the number of garbage bags they use, and city workers have the right to refuse collection for any household that fails to adequately separate waste. Additionally, there's a deliberate scarcity of public waste bins in the city, making municipal solid waste collection the primary mode of disposal. The rate of municipal solid waste generation is increasing, but the problem is not insurmountable. However, the longer we wait, the more habituated we become to our current system of waste management. The data mentioned in this video is sourced from several scholarly articles in the field of urbanization and municipal solid waste management. All articles will be referenced in the description. If you have any comments or questions about the topic, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below.